So we are here today with Hal Elrod. He is a multi-best-selling author. He lives in Texas, like most of the rest of us. And that was a fun surprise to me because I've actually been following your work, Hal, for quite some time, since 2017 when
Oh, wow.
I was in a group that was run by a local fitness and health coach. And one of the key components that he taught us was first we had to read or listen to Miracle Morning, and then we had to adapt that into our lives. And
Wow.
I am a fan. I can speak to how transformational it's been for me. I will be honest and say I haven't been consistent since 2017.
It's okay.
But
It's okay. I give you grace.
yeah, but when I do have that as a part of my morning, my day always goes better. I'm always more productive and energetic and focused. So this is a great topic. I'm excited to get to talk to you about this.
Oh, it is. I'm really excited. I love anything local, right? It always feels fun when it's local, and I'm out here in Dripping Springs, so I'm on
Okay.
the other side of Austin. But yeah,
Yes.
no, thanks for having me, Marika. It's really cool, and I love that you discovered Miracle Morning, many years ago. That makes it even more fun.
Mhm. Yeah, well, just so everyone knows, we're talking to Hal because he has brought out the next edition of the Miracle Morning. So, what year did the Miracle Morning first come out? I know it's sold over 2 million copies.
Yeah, it's self-published on December 12th, 2012. So 12, 12, 12. I have brain damage, so I picked a date that I wouldn't forget.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. I love that you self-published it and then it's just had this heaping success. It's amazing. And here in Texas, knowing a lot about, books and publishers, we're also big fans of BenBella, your publisher. So,
Oh, cool. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been self-published for 11 years, and I've met with, I think, probably 13 or 14 New York publishers, major publishers over the years, and it just was the never the right fit. And then this with BenBella, yeah, they were just fantastic and came highly recommended from an author friend of mine, and it's been great working with them so far.
Good. Well, I want to just start by kind of setting the stage for everybody. I know your backstory, but I wanted everyone to know how you've had um, situations happen in your life that you've really had to utilize positive mindset,
Yeah.
and it really sets the stage for how you've used this yourself.
Yeah. So when I was 20 years old, I was driving home from giving a speech at a sales conference. I worked for Cutco Cutlery, and I gave a speech to like probably 50 sales reps. And that night, my car was hit head on by a drunk driver at 80 miles an hour, 70 to 80 miles an hour. And I was actually found dead at the scene. My heart stopped for 6 minutes on the side of the freeway, and I
Wow.
was airlifted to the hospital in a helicopter and revived on the helicopter, and then spent 6 days in a coma and came out of the coma to be told I would never walk again. So that was the first instance where I had the mind, I had to decide what's my mindset. Like, I can't change what happened to me. And if you're listening to this right now, or you're reading this, right? Like, there's a lot of things. Once something happens, you can't go back in time and change it. You can't undo it, right? Life is as life is. And it was like, how am I going to respond to this in the most positive, proactive way that's going to serve me and other people? And then I took my first step 3 weeks later, and the rest is kind of history. I went on to use that experience to write books and speak and share my story to empower other people. And then 17 years later, when I was 37 years old, which was about 7 years ago, I was diagnosed with a rare aggressive form of cancer called acute lymphoblastic leukemia, blood cancer. My organs were shutting down, and I was given a 20 to 30% chance of surviving. So it was very grim odds. And again, I used my miracle morning. I really believe in that instance, the miracle morning saved my life because I focused all 6 of these morning practices that make up the miracle morning on one objective. At that point, my work goals didn't matter. No goals mattered except for survive, like stay alive for me and for my family. And I really believe the miracle morning really helped me to do that.
Wow. So you mentioned the 6, and so I have them here, and we'll just tell everybody what they are. So meditation, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and journaling. And it was so fun because I was reading the new edition and just reminding myself. I had listened to the version on Audible back in 2017. So I was just reminding myself that the prescription is an hour and only 10 minutes on each of these things.
Yeah.
And how fast does that time pass?
Yeah.
I mean, you got 10 minutes to read.
Yeah. 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 I know it does. It goes by fast. And I do want to mention, for anybody listening, one thing that I've learned over the years, Marika, is when I first started the Miracle Morning, I did a full hour.
Mhm,
And over the last 11 years, I've heard a lot of people go, I don't have an hour. I can't do a full hour, or I'm not a morning person. A lot of these, these real justifications that we have for like why this or that won't work for me. And so that was a big part of the new book, was like really making sure this works for everybody. And there's a chapter in the new book called the 6 minute miracle morning. And it's not like some gimmick. It's literally on days where you're pressed for time, you can modify the miracle morning completely. It could be 60 minutes. It could be, in fact, a lot of people do a 30-minute miracle morning on their daily, as their daily practice. They don't do a full hour. Some
mhm.
do, but roughly half do 30 minutes. But even on days where you're pressed for time, once you've got the miracle morning down, right? And now, if you've done like a 30-day miracle morning journey, which is how the book kind of launches you into that.
Mhm.
But once you've done that and you've got the miracle morning, like, you know how to do it, then on days where you're pressed for time, you just set your timer, and for 60 seconds, you spend time in silence, prayer or meditation. And then that timer goes off and you hit, start again. And now you spend 60 minutes reading your affirmations that are affirming what you're committed to in your life, why it's a must for you, what you need to do to get there, right? They're really keeping you focused on what matters most. And then 60 seconds goes by, you do then visualization. And then 60 seconds of exercise, jumping jacks, 60 seconds of reading a page out of a book. So the point is, in 6 minutes time, you can get like 70 to 80% of the benefit of a 30 or 60-minute miracle morning, and really set yourself up for a great day, because you start the day in a peak mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual state.
Yeah. And I love it that you admit that you weren't a morning person either, because I
Yeah.
think that that's probably everyone's first instinct, is to
Yep.
say, I'm not a morning person. And the coach that told me about the miracle morning, he would tell us about how he would get into phases of his life where he would snooze his alarm clock for, this sounds crazy to me, but like an hour of snoozing, which kind of blows my mind. I'm a one-time snoozer.
Okay. Okay.
But, I love that people who don't consider themselves morning people can really adapt to this routine. And you really don't notice the time that you've lost, in that
Yeah.
set of sleeping time. You're not sitting there during the day thinking, I wish I'd gotten that extra hour of sleep.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, well, and I think that it's important for, everyone's sleep needs are different. But for me, it's, if people go, do I need to sleep less? And I say, no, just go to bed 30 minutes earlier to
Yeah,
wake up 30 minutes earlier,
right.
right? And the 30 minutes, you mentioned like not missing. To me, you're really not missing the 30 minutes that you stopped watching television,
Yes.
right? And like, oh, I
Mhm.
missed that extra episode, right?
Mhm.
You don't miss that, but those 30 minutes in the morning can literally change your life. I mean, the whole premise of the Miracle Morning is that arguably the most important decision you can make in your life is how you start your day, because how you start your day sets the tone, the
Mhm.
context, and the direction for the rest of the day. So when you win the morning, you put yourself in the best position to show up at your best for yourself, for those you love, for those you lead. And so that's why the morning is so crucial.
Well, I was curious. I saw the mention of the Miracle Evening.
Yeah.
And that's a separate book?
It's a separate chapter. So, uh,
Oh, okay.
yeah, the new edition has 70 pages of additional content, right? So, I mean, it has almost like a half a book in it, added.
Mhm.
And 25 of those pages came in what's called the savers section. And actually, I want to clarify this really quickly. When you mentioned the 6 practices, meditation, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and journaling, when I was writing the book, I was frustrated one day because I'm looking at these 6 practices and I'm trying to figure out, how can I deliver these in a way and organize them that it's cohesive and it's memorable and it flows together? And I remember I couldn't figure it out. And I saw my wife in the hallway. I kind of went for a walk to clear my head. And she goes, "What's wrong? You look flustered." I said, all these authors like Robert Kiyosaki has the cash flow quadrant, and Stephen Covey's got the 7 habits of highly effective people. I said, I've got these 6 practices that I don't know how to make them work together. She goes, "Why don't you get a thesaurus and see if you can figure out some synonyms for some of the words and then organize them into an acronym that people would remember?" And I
Mm.
gave her a big kiss on the face, and I said, "Oh, you're brilliant. Let me try this." And so the practices that you mentioned became the savers.
Mm-hmm.
SAVERS. And now it's memorable, it's cohesive. The first S is for silence. So what was meditation is now silence, which is great because it's prayer or it's meditation, or for me, it's both. And a lot of people, it's both. So
Mm-hmm.
the S is for silence, the A is for affirmations, V for visualization, E for exercise, R for reading. And the final S that was journaling became scribing, which is a fancy word for writing, if you will. And
Yeah.
so those 6 practices, right, that makes up the savers.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot what the other part of the question and where I was going with that.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic to
Oh,
be
the
able
miracle
to do
evening.
that.
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. What
So
do you want to tell us something about the
yeah,
Miracle Evening?
yeah. So what I was saying is there's 25 pages of new content in the savers section alone. I'm teaching you everything I've learned in the last 11 years about each of those 6 practices, right? And then the other 2 chapters that are added to the book are the miracle evening, which is your strategy for blissful bedtime and better sleep, and then the miracle life, which is your path to inner freedom. And the miracle evening, I put that in there because from 2020 to 20, or yeah, actually November 2019 to May 2020, I had been on chemotherapy for 3 years. I had done like 700 hours of chemotherapy. And Marika, my brain, it just kind of broke. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like a switch flipped. And I developed extraordinary anxiety. I started sleeping 2 to 4 hours a night for 6 months. And
Mm,
it really took a havoc on my nervous system and my brain, my cognitive abilities, you name it. And I relentlessly researched and figured out and worked with some of the best doctors in the world on how do I got to get back to sleep. And
mhm,
then I started asking my community members and people that I speak to at events, how many of you struggle with sleep? And it's usually 60 to 70% of people that I ask that identify as they struggle with sleep. And so I thought I've got to share. I don't have all the answers, but I'm at least going to share in the new book what I figured out, what I did to overcome this, severe sleep deprivation to being able to sleep really, really well now. And so that's what the miracle evening is all about. It's a 7-step ritual, and it's another acronym, slumbers. The slumbers that walk you through what I do 3 to 4 hours before bedtime, all the way until I go to sleep. And then that last chapter of the miracle life is how can you enjoy this one life we've been blessed to live, even though it's difficult, right? How can you optimize your mental health, your emotional well-being, your mindset to be at your best, even in the midst of the most difficult times in your life? And
mm.
those are the two new chapters in the book that add 45 pages of new content, and I feel like really give people a lot of extra value in addition to the Miracle Morning.
Yeah. Well, and it's also such a great, strong message that, this isn't Pollyanna. It's not like, oh, you do this and life is so easy. You're acknowledging, things happen in life. Gosh, I mean, you've had a lot more happen to you than the average person. But anytime we have tools in our toolbox like
Yeah,
this, the miracle morning, I would love to give a little quote here. So you mention in the book that there's a quote that you heard from Jim Rome
yeah,
that really stuck with you, um, that says, "Your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development because success is something you attract by the person you become." And I love that. It really helps kind of package why the miracle morning is so important. You talk about, think about the risk, not just the rewards of like, what's the risk of not doing this?
yeah,
And that really hit me as I was reading the updated version that, Yeah, I mean, you might be laying there at night thinking, oh, I'm gonna like set my alarm a little bit later tomorrow, but there's risk
Yeah.
in that.
Yeah.
So
No. Yeah. Oh, I
just
was
gonna
just going to
say,
comment on the quote. That quote really, it was the catalyst for the Miracle Morning. I give Jim a ton of credit. May he rest in peace. And I never got to thank him in person, but when I heard that quote, that's when I realized, 2008 and the U.S. economy had crashed, and I crashed with it. And I had lost over half of my clients, half my income. My house was being foreclosed on. It was like at that point, it was the lowest point in my life, financially, physically. I wasn't exercising, and mentally and emotionally I was really depressed and scared. It was the Great Recession, 2008. And
yeah,
and when I heard that quote from Jim Rohn, it hit me. I went, oh, wait a minute. My level of success will rarely exceed my level of personal development. So what level of success do I want? And I think for all of us, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 10. Like, we want to be as
yeah,
happy and healthy and financially secure, and,
mm,
have our relationships be harmonious, right? We want to be at a level 10 in our lives. But then I asked, well, okay, well, what's my level of personal development? Because if my level of success is not going to exceed that, then I better have level 10 personal development. And it was like a 2, maybe like a 3 or a 4 on a good day. And I think that's the disconnect for the majority of our society, is
mhm,
everybody wants, level 10 health and happiness and
mhm,
financial security and relationships. But how many people have a level 10 personal development ritual every day that enables them to become the best version of themselves
mhm.
each day and over the long run? And
Right.
that is the essence of the Miracle Morning. Is it's a daily ritual with 6 of the most timeless, proven practices that enable you to go from wherever you are on that scale of 1 to 10 in terms of your personal development, a 1, a 4, a 5, whatever. And
Mhm.
you keep, every day you get better and better and better and better and better. And then your abilities and your capabilities get better and better, and your life reflects that.
Yeah, it's so great to be able to look back and also feel good about that, right? I mean, here we are at the beginning of the year right here, and people are trying to think about what they want to do better this year than last year. Not necessarily a New Year's resolution, but how can I get better? How
Sure.
can I? What is my level 10? And to be able to stick with something like the Miracle Morning, learn it through the
Yeah.
reading the book, stick with it and be able to reflect back on that and to say, I gave a 10 out of 10. Like, that's a great feeling.
Yeah.
We want that for everybody, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, is you can't control what happens to you, right?
Mhm.
You can control what you do, but that's all you can control. Like
Mm,
in
oh,
2020,
yeah.
when the pandemic hit, that was the question I asked myself. It's like, oh my gosh, the world feels so out of control. What should I be focused on right now? And
Mm,
it quickly, I looked in, I go, well, the only thing I can control is how I show up every day and who I become every day. And so
mhm,
I was like, oh, I'm going to double down on my Miracle Morning, and I'm going to encourage the members of the Miracle Morning community. Like, guys, look, I know life feels out of control. Focus on your practice. Focus on showing up at your best every day for the people you love, the people that you lead, right? For yourself first and foremost, so you can show up for others. And yeah, and so yeah, to your point, it's really what you can do every day, is become the best version of yourself, and then let life plays out how it plays out.
well, do you have anything you want to share about your own Miracle Morning practice that maybe is kind of like a tip or a trick or a hack
Yeah.
of what you do personally?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a great question. It's a loaded question, because I'm like, there's so many ways I could answer this. I will say this: I am not perfect. Like, I do the Miracle Morning almost every day, so I'm pretty good at that. But sometimes it's 30 minutes, sometimes it's 60 minutes. I mean, sometimes it's 2 hours. I'll wake up early on a weekend and my family sleeps in till 9. I'm like, cool, I got a runway.
Mhm,
But some mornings, it's very flexible. Like, I don't always do all 6 savers every day. In
mhm,
fact, I probably average 4 to 5 savers a day.
mhm,
Visualization is the one that I only use it as needed. But
mm,
whenever someone reads the book, I always say, I encourage you to start with all 6 savers for your first 30-day journey, your first 30 days, so
mm,
you can really become proficient. Maybe not an expert, right? But you can, like, oh, wow, I've really okay, I figured out affirmations. I figured out meditation. Like, I've got the hang of all these things. And
mhm,
once you have them, now they're tools in your tool belt. And then you can go, okay, which one do I need today? So there are certain days where I'll just read for my entire Miracle Morning,
mhm,
or I'll meditate and read. One of my friends, Brianna Greenspan, she's the director of education for the Miracle Morning. She brings the Miracle Morning into schools. And I interviewed her on my podcast a couple months ago, and she's very fluid in her Miracle Morning. And the way she said it is, every morning, she said, Hal, my Miracle Morning starts with silence, and I close my eyes and I put my hand on my heart and I go, which of the savers do I need today?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And she intuitively, sometimes she goes, I feel like I'm going to go through all of them. Or I'm just going to meditate. Or I'm going to meditate for 15 minutes and then I'm going to read that book that I've been reading because that's been really helpful, right? So it's a very flexible process. And there's a chapter in the new book called Customizing the Miracle Morning to Fit Your Lifestyle. And it's all about that. Like, how do you customize it? You can do the savers in any order. You could do them, some of them longer, some of them shorter, right? If you work the night shift, how do you adjust? If you have a newborn baby, right? It's like, this is very customizable for your lifestyle.
Right. No, I love that because yeah, I mean, you feel differently depending on the day, and
Yeah.
sometimes, yeah, I mean, sometimes you just really, really want to just sit and read for
Yeah,
a minute,
totally. Yeah.
and that's okay because you're going to get something out of that for sure. And I just absolutely love that the Miracle Morning is in schools in some places because um, I was reading something in here that reminded me that I had a discussion with my 16-year-old about, how people talk about picking a word for the
Yeah.
year that
Yeah.
they kind of try to revolve around. And his word was thriving.
Mm,
And I thought, wow, so, I mean, yeah, so great. I just think that he thinks more deeply than the average adult.
yeah, that's amazing.
But this is so good for teenagers too, and for them to get on a path of self-improvement. I mean, we're none of us are ever done
Yeah,
improving
sure.
ourselves. And I just love that about the Miracle Morning because when I adopted the Miracle Morning, whatever that was, 6, 7 years ago, it really it really pushed home the situation of like I am on a constant eternal path of self-improvement.
Yes.
And if I stop that, then then what is life basically? So I really love that we can talk to our teens about this. We can really we can share it with our friends, we can share it with our coworkers. I can't tell you how many times I've used the term Miracle Morning with people that I'm just talking to over the last 6 or 7 years. And so it's a really easy thing um, to get hooked on and
Yeah.
to want to tell other people about because we want to help others, right? We want to help them and help them help themselves, I guess, is
Yeah.
another way to put it.
No,
So,
absolutely.
yeah. So, are there any last words that you want to share with our listeners, readers, viewers, to just kind of take them off into 2024?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think that, one of my favorite affirmations is, it's like a foundational affirmation for me. And it's, I am just as worthy, deserving, and capable of everything I want as any other person. And I will prove it today with my actions.
Mm,
And to me, the beauty of that affirmation is that we all struggle with self-worth, and we all struggle with insecurity of, am I capable? We compare ourselves to other people, you name it. And so that first piece just reminding us that, like, we are all just as inherently worthy. To me, there's not a human being on the planet that's more worthy
mm,
of, what they want, what they're willing to commit to, than any other human. So you listening and me, we're all just as worthy, deserving, and capable. And then that second part of it is like, I will prove it today with my actions, because without that piece, you can go, oh, I'm worthy. That feels good. I'm going to go back to accepting far less than I really want. you know?
mhm,
And so that other piece, like, to me, the Miracle Morning is foundational in that if you commit to like Jim Rohn said, if you want level 10 success and, want to improve your finances, your relationships, whatever it is, it's about becoming the person that is capable of doing those things, because you're not inherently capable. You have capability to learn, do things, but you've got to actually take that action to make it happen. And so yeah, so wherever you are in your life right now, it's temporary, and I have faith that you can commit to do the things to become the person to go where you want to go.
And I will say that because I've had a career in books too, I think that this book, The Miracle Morning, the expanded edition, is unique in that a lot of books have a defined audience.
Mm.
It's like, okay, this book
Mm.
is for parents, or this book is for people who want to get better in their career, or whatever. What I love about The Miracle Morning is that it's for everybody,
Yeah.
everybody. And I
Yeah.
have no doubt that anybody who gets themselves a copy and gets into practice is going to notice improvement in their
Yeah.
lives and feel it, in their own wellness. So we really appreciate you being with us today, Hal, and so glad to get to spend some time with a really amazing Texan.
Rika, thank you. It's really an honor, and thank you so much for the time, and everybody reading or listening. Thank you for being here.